What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sector for Nerds. Today I'm here to chat with you guys about the first 3 episodes from Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. But before we do that, you guys, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are inching super close to 1,000 subscribers, you guys. If we can get there, it would mean so much to me. I've got so much content going up on the channel, you guys, right now. Like, it's to the point now where, like, I've got something going up almost every day, whether it's a YouTube video like this, whether it's a YouTube short, whether it's a live stream. I've really been expanding the content for you guys here on this channel. All right, you guys, let's talk about what we all came here to talk about today, and that is Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. So we're going to start out with the first episode. I'm going to kind of give you guys like my quick overall thoughts on each of the episodes, kind of break down some points of things that I liked and didn't like about the episodes, all that fun stuff. We're bringing back the Bad Batch Member of the Week segment, and we've got 3 of them to do this week because there were 3 episodes. And the first one was called Confined, and it was about Omega and Crosshair. We basically get to see Omega's daily routine as far as what she's doing here in this facility. And I was trying to figure out, like, throughout a lot of the episode, okay, how long has she been here? How long has she been locked up here? And when you first check the wall, it was like 21 days. I'm like, oh, it was only 3 weeks? Oh, that was a lot shorter than I thought it was gonna be. And then all of a sudden, we get a time jump. And the next time you look at the board, if I did my maths right, I think it was like she was there over 150 days. So that's like about 6 months, right? Which is funny because I think that was the same amount of time between seasons 1 and 2. So I thought that was very ironic. Omega's hair was grown out a little bit. Crosshair tells Omega to not worry about him. But I mean, to the credit of Omega, she was so set on like, I'm not leaving this space without Crosshair. Omega makes a friend, like, you know, with one of the pets. Omega helps it escape because Hemlock, of course, is going to kill it. And then when Hemlock finds out, you know, Omega kind of talks back to him like, well, what are you going to do? Hurt me? You need me because if I'm dead, then Nala Se isn't going to help you anymore. Hemlock kind of laughs like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you, Omega. I'm going to hurt Crosshair. And he, like the freaking sick bastard that he is, he turns it around on her. I think overall, the first episode, you guys, it was probably my least favorite of the 3 episodes. I thought it was fine. Like, it was definitely a bit slow in parts, but you know, for those people that say that it's filler, because I've already seen discourse online about this episode of people saying it's filler, even about like the 3 episodes in general that they were filler, which to me is just absolutely hilarious. And I say that because, I feel like I've said this before, but the term filler has been overused so much that I feel like it's lost its meaning. It's like, if you want to talk about filler, go back and watch the episode from season 2 where they go on the treasure hunt with Fee. That right there was a definition of a filler episode because they go on this random adventure that has nothing to do with the main story. And then not only do they go on set mission, but they don't get anything out of it. They don't actually, you know, get what it was they were looking for. It was like, well, hey, at least we had fun. That's a filler episode. An episode where Omega is being detained by the Empire and she's trying to figure out how to escape, and we're getting to learn what her everyday life is like in this prison. A place that she's been for over 6 months. I don't think that's filler. Listen, I'm not saying you can't like this episode. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. Again, I thought this was the least best episode of the 3 that we got. But to say that it's filler, I completely disagree. The Bad Batch Member of the Week for this episode, you guys, I feel like it kind of has to be Omega by default because she was really the only one besides Crosshair that was in this episode in terms of the Bad Batch. But what I loved so much about Omega in this episode, you guys, is even though she was contained, you know, she was basically a prisoner, she was still trying to make the most in helping people and, you know, even specifically helping the animals. And it's cool to me that a child of her age being locked away, that she's still able to help others, even when she maybe even necessarily can't help herself all the time, you know what I'm saying? The fact that she was able to still see the good in Crosshair, the fact that she wants to escape with him. Yeah, good job, Omega. Episode 2, called Paths Unknown, was an episode about Hunter and Wrecker basically are two remaining Bad Batch members left that are sticking together. Because there was no Echo, and I feel like the reason for this is because he's with Rex, right? Like, he's a part of that clone rebellion. Him being there at the end of last season was, like, not Echo's return to the Bad Batch. It was meant to be, like, a part-time thing. I thought this episode was a decent episode. We get to see some clone cadets in this episode that help Hunter and Wrecker find the base that they're looking for. Because they get it. Remember that Durand from the first season, you guys, that they kind of ended up helping unintentionally against the Pikes? Well, because of that unintentional assist, the dude ends up giving Bad Batch what it is that they need to find Omega. But it leads them to this, like, abandoned base, right? But the clone cadets say, hey, I think, the last time we did a recon there was still a working control panel there. So they meet Mox, who's the leader. I didn't get all their names. There was Mox, who was the leader. Oh, and Deke. Deke was the one that helps Hunter and Wrecker initially, when the other two were kind of against it. But Mox was voiced by Daniel Logan. They end up using Gonki to get the data from the machine, which I thought was cool. I was wondering what their power source was going to be, and then when I saw Gonki, I'm like, I should have known it was Gonki. Dude, those vines, when they started, like, turning into, like, little creatures and stuff like that, my brother was like, man, that's some alien stuff right there, man. We had everything in this episode, you guys. We had, like, alien-style stuff. We had the frickin' Kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean. Luckily, with some help from the other cadets, they're able to, get the Marauder, help the Bad Batch make their getaway. And Hunter's like, all right, we at least found the sector that they could be in, but we've got a lot of ground to cover. And then Hunter pretty much tells the cadets, we know a place you guys can go, lay low, which he was basically referring to Pabu. Now, I think the ending of the next episode makes this ending interesting, because is it going to be as simple as like, oh, these guys are going to reunite in the next episode, in episode 4, or is it still going to take them a little bit to find each other? Well, I guess let's get into the third episode, you guys, and then we can kind of speculate. The third episode was definitely my favorite. It was one that I really enjoyed. I think that had Omega and Crosshair not escaped, I probably would have been a little bit more down on this episode. I think it probably, or even if they would have at least gotten a signal out to Hunter and Wrecker so they knew where to look, that would have at least been something. But if it would have been like, oh, they just get captured and then nothing happens, like no signal gets out, nothing, I'd have been like, okay. Like, it probably would have made me look at these 3 episodes a little bit differently. But seeing the fact that, like, these first 3 episodes, it was kind of like an arc in its own way, right? Of, like, Hunter and Wrecker trying to find Omega, Omega trying to escape, get to her brothers. Nala Se is the one that tells Omega that she needs to escape, because if they find out what's in her blood sample, like, they know that it's going to have the genetic material that they're looking for. Or I believe specifically they were looking for M counts, right? They start talking about a special guest arriving, and you can kind of already guess, like, all right, it's probably going to be Palpatine, right? And then you hear that ominous theme that they play in the Senate episode of season 2 when Palpatine rises up there. Sidious and Hemlock talk about Project Necromancer, which is something that I believe Captain Pelion was talking about in The Mandalorian, which is interesting that they're tying the Bad Batch in with the Mandoverse stuff. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what impact that's going to have for the Bad Batch, and maybe if, we even see any of those characters show up in future Mandoverse stuff. Now, I do feel like for Omega and Crosshair, they picked the worst day to make an escape. And Crosshair even mentions this as well, because it's like, the Emperor's here, they're going to have, like, triple the amount of guards, like, we're making this harder on ourselves. They try to get the female clone Emery to come with. Doesn't end up happening. I love the scene where they're talking about Plan 72. And Crosshair's like, do you know what that is? And Omega's like, yeah, Tick made me memorize all the plans. And Crosshair's like, of course he did. Meanwhile, Emery's testing the blood. Now, the thing maybe that I forgot to mention now that I think about it was every time that they would collect a blood sample from Omega, Nala Se would throw it out because she knew what it was that they were looking for, and she knew that Omega had it. But this time it wasn't thrown away. Now, it's interesting because that moment of, like, the big blood reveal was actually what allows Omega and Crosshair to escape. And I think eventually Crosshair is going to figure that out too, wherever it is that they go next. Because originally Hemlock was going to have them killed, and then Emery runs into the room and is like, hey, Omega's got what we're looking for. And Hemlock's like, crap, all right, call off the attack. And in the moment I was like, oh wow, this is a pretty risky plan, Hemlock, for you. Like, this space is supposed to be secret. Like, the fact that you're letting them get away, that's a pretty dangerous move. And like, yeah, he said, oh, but it's all right. I've got all the Empire's resources at my disposal. We're gonna find her. I feel like that's also gonna lead to them like hiring bounty hunters and stuff. That's probably how we're gonna get people like Cad Bane and Fennec Shan back in the mix. This is where it's gonna be interesting, right? Because where is it going to be a quick, like, oh, in episode 4, we immediately get the reunion between these guys? Is it still going to take a couple episodes for each party to find each other? I mean, surely now that they have a shuttle, like a working shuttle with a working communicator, that they would be able to send out a distress signal or something. And maybe that's what they'll do. So for the Bad Batch member of the week for episode 3. Did I even give my Bad Batch member for episode 2? If I didn't, I wanted to go to Hunter. Hunter in episode 2, you guys, like, I appreciated his determination to find Omega. He was always the one that was kind of helping everybody out when they were getting attacked by the Vines. He did a good job. But then episode 3, you guys, I think it's got to go to Omega again for coming up with the escape plan. They had every disadvantage going for them, but between her and Crosshair, they were able to overcome it. I honestly hope, you guys, that it doesn't take too long for the Bad Batch to reunite, only because I just, knowing that this is the final season, I just want to see all of these guys get together again. I want them to be a family. Like, that's what I wanted most out of the end of season 2, right? Like, okay, let's just have them go to Pabu, right? They can live peacefully there for a little while. Maybe by season 3, they can get back in the fight, but then nope, Sid had to frickin' ruin everything. I will say, though, if the Bad Batch does reunite pretty soon, I do wonder what the end of this season is going to lead to. Like, are we setting up for the Clone Rebellion to go after this secret base on Tantiss and take it down? I guess I wouldn't mind that, but I do think it's still a little early to tell. You know, obviously I'm just kind of speculating on my part. I don't think there's necessarily a clear-cut direction for where we're going yet. I mean, I think first we just got to see whether or not, you know, the Bad Batch get together within the next couple episodes, and then we'll kind of figure it out from there, right? You know what, you guys? Before I end this video here today, we have some breaking news in the Star Wars universe. Starting on March 14th, we are going to be able to play for PS4 and PS5 the original 2 Battlefront games. That is freaking amazing. Dude, that original Battlefront 2 is easily one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time. And it looks like they're going to have, I'm looking at the trailer here, they're going to have like online game lobbies. Oh my gosh, you guys, that makes me really happy. That just made my day. But that is going to wrap us up for today, you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the first 3 episodes of Bad Batch Season 3. Make sure you guys are staying tuned next week as we're going to talk about Season 3, Episode 4. Man, that's going to be crazy. We're going to go from having 3 episodes in 1 week to 1. I feel like it's going to just fly by. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.